Hello, everyone, and welcome to this next education webinar, which is part of IELTS webinar series. My name is Ali Usman, and I'll be your host for this evening. Today, in this webinar, we'll be conducting on the topic of Speak Fluently, Score Confidently. So it's good to have you all with us, and let's discuss what are the pain points where you're actually struggling in IELTS examination with educators and with your students. Let us discuss about that and also understand about IELTS speaking examination specifically. So let me begin. So good afternoon, Khushbu. And there are a lot of you, I believe, who are educators right now, but you can also write which field you're working in, and whether you're a student or an educator, you can just inform us in the chat box so that I can become more aware. Teacher, okay. Others can also type in the chat box so that I can be more aware while going in this webinar moving ahead. You can just introduce and tell me something about yourself as well over here, where you're coming from, whether you're in India or abroad. That also helps me understand. So I believe most of you are teachers who are dealing with students. So far, you've mentioned that. Wonderful. Excellent. So we have a lot of educators in the room, and some of you are from Kuwait as well. So it's a mixed audience. It's not just people from India, but from UAE and abroad as well. That's always wonderful to have a mixed audience. So we'll be discussing something where you're struggling with your own audience. You must be dealing with your students and you must be having issues as well. So I'll be understanding about where you face those issues, and I'll be explaining how you can solve these problems. Let us understand the topic itself. In IELTS speaking, it's very important for you to speak fluently. At the same time, you need to be confident. So how exactly do you balance this? How will you balance this as a trainer? What will you tell to your students how they can become more fluent as well as confident at the same time? Because it's a very big challenge, as the topics that come, although they are very common, they might be knowing it, but still they become a little conscious about it when they have to speak for 2 minutes of time. So this is really the essence which we'll cover today. So let us move and understand first. We'll be covering 5 areas which is very, very important for IELTS speaking. First is fluency versus speed. Which is more important for you? We'll be addressing that. Where do people actually struggle when it comes to IELTS? Whether fluency is more important or speed. So we'll be looking at it more closely, as we'll take a look at band descriptors as well and understand it. Then the second thing is we'll take a look at connectives. IELTS Band 7 is something we looked at in the last webinar as well. We'll be focusing on that, why connectives are extremely important, and maybe your students are missing out by not using collectives or maybe using an excess amount of linking words. Third is idiomatic vocabulary, how to use it more naturally, how to be fluent with it. Fourth is, this is very interesting and I really like this one, Parrots Don't Pass rule. We'll come to this one, fourth one. Then fifth, actually this is most important, that is the cue card. You all must be familiar with this one, that cue cards are really challenging for students. You have to speak for a duration of up to 2 minutes. You get very little time. So how do you prepare? How do you go about this? Let us understand this. Then eventually you will also get time to ask your own questions. So before I begin, I want to ask each one of you, anyone can type in the chat box and say, Samita Narayanan has raised her hand. Yes, please tell me. I feel there are a few more of them. Yes, Samita. Smita. Why don't you put it in the chat box so that I can understand what is your question? Gangotri has said that she fumbles, right? Anyone else who wants to write and mention their issues first? Why are you stuck at band 5 and 6? What is the issue according to you? Fumble, getting stuck, very important points. Khushbu has also mentioned that. When you are working with your own students, some of you have also mentioned that, the students are already aware of the answer, but still they don't continue. They hesitate. They fumble the answer. So that could be one section of students. Then the second one is they are losing confidence. Kalwani has said that, they are losing confidence. So that is one another issue why students are not speaking in a good, confident manner. Any other issue that you are facing? Pronunciation and lack of vocabulary. So Megha Rajak has said that it is lack of pronunciation. I believe she's saying that it's a lack of pronunciation where they are not understanding clearly. It is the fifth point on the screen, that weak pronunciation and intonation also. IELTS clearly mentions that you need to have good intonation. Now, what is intonation? Intonation is the rise and fall in your voice. If there is no rise and fall, imagine you're speaking, but there is only a constant tone. So that really makes the IELTS examiner give you less marks. So you have to be very clear and convey this message to students as well. I believe someone else has also mentioned forgetting ideas, speaking too fast. So we have many participants. Anyone else? Speaking sometimes I rush or hurry. Sayani has mentioned a good point that students sometimes rush or hurry and they hesitate. Yeah, you all can mention it. Don't hesitate. You all can mention your points. It will help us all understand what are the issues that students are facing across the globe. Okay. Issues have also been mentioned. Yes, Sonal, please mention it. Running short of words. Pooja Jain has mentioned that running short of words is actually a very big problem. How do they overcome this? Now, lack of confidence. Good evening, Malvia. So, lack of confidence and hesitation is something that we have addressed. How do you address that? What is the strategy that you use when students are facing a lack of confidence in your own class? Do you tell them that develop confidence? You tell them that? Or how do you build confidence? You know, good evening, Mirza. One important strategy is to develop confidence, especially in speaking. You must allow them to, yes, Jolly has a very good strategy for us, that is encourage them. I was coming to that point and she said it, encourage them. The more you encourage them, the better they will feel. Give them some easy topics that they will feel comfortable with, familiar with. Always begin with some topics that they will be familiar with. Remember that IELTS Speaking Part 1 is all about introductions. See if they are able to introduce themselves or not. Appreciate them. You're right, Samuel. I have introduced 3 minutes talk. Okay, nice. That is a good way, Oja. That's a nice way of introducing themselves. 3 minutes, some students might find it difficult initially. You can also reduce it to 1 minute if they are unable to catch up, to 3 minutes exact immediately. So you can bridge the gap. Inability to bridge the gap between sentences, that is a grammar problem. That's a big grammar problem that many students are facing. So what you're also saying is whenever students are facing some issue with their confidence and hesitation, always encourage them. Do not keep them at the same level by saying these are the set of mistakes you're making. Try to give them some set of encouragement, and this will help them to improve. Always provide them some amount of encouragement, as Ojha provided us with a positive tip that he tells his student to always speak in the class, give some introduction. You can also make it more simpler. Ask them about some simple topics. What is their hometown? How exactly is it? Can they describe it a little more? Trying to provide a non-judgmental, very good, Oja, that's a nice attitude, to have a non-judgmental attitude. In fact, that's so difficult to have. We say a non-judgmental attitude, but it can be difficult, and if you can provide that to your students, students really value it. So provide it to your student. Don't judge it when they are fumbling, when they are hesitating, because you really are the guiding force. When you are guiding a set of students, you will be guiding them to greater heights. They trust you completely. So give familiar topics. That's true, Jolly. Sometimes, all these 4 points are divided into different categories. For example, if they hesitate despite knowing the answer, that means they are already aware. Think of it that way. So they are already at a particular band, but they are just feeling a little shy. So encourage them a little more. When they speak too fast, this is nervousness coming into the picture. They are so nervous that they want to complete their sentences quickly in front of you. Now they will double it up when they go in front of the examiner. They might sweat and start speaking even faster. So ask them to speak in a more fluent manner, but don't have to rush everything. So tell them to relax a little bit. Give them more ideas to speak on. If they are forgetting their answer midway, provide opportunity to speak a little more by improving their vocabulary. They might be struggling with vocabulary. Some other issues, we'll be addressing that, especially with grammar. Now, you all must be aware of the band descriptors, but in speaking, IELTS Speaking, Cambridge has set a particular standard for band descriptors. It is extremely important that you and the student candidate become extremely aware of IELTS Speaking band descriptors. How many of you are aware of speaking band descriptors? Are you all aware of it? That your speaking in IELTS is not just dependent on the fluency, but it is dependent. Okay, Gangotri, you're not aware. So what happens, Gangotri, Khushbu, what happens is these 4 parameters that you're seeing on the screen. It is called as fluency and coherence, then lexical resource, grammatical range accuracy, and pronunciation. So IELTS provide these 4 values to you. And your speaking is only judged on these 4 criteria. It is not judged on what you feel. You may think that you gave a bad answer, but no, that doesn't matter. IELTS will decide your answer on these 4 criteria only. Now let me break it up one by one. First, there will be a topic that is given to you. For example, a topic will be describe a vacation that you recently went on. Okay? Okay. Let me just move this tab. So I'll just share this again with you. Are you able to see the screen now better? Is this better? Okay. Fine. Excellent. Brilliant. So what happens is these 4 are the parameters that you will be judged on. Like I said, the topics are like describe a vacation you recently went on. Then it will have subtasks. Why you really enjoyed it, what happened on the vacation, and whom did you go along with you. So these will be the subtasks for this topic. Now, are you using the correct vocabulary for this? For instance, it is a travel related task. Are you using words related with travel, leisure, enjoyment? Are you using words related with that, or are you using unrelated vocabulary? That's how your lexical resource will be judged. If you're going to use a very good word here related with travel, enjoyment, then you'll get more marks for it. That's how each and every sentence is marked in IELTS. That is lexical resource. Fluency and coherence, because there are 4 subtasks in it, each and every subtasks need to be connected. You just can't speak in random manner. So everything, once it is coherent, coherent means it has to be joined. Everything has to be connected from start to end. If you can provide it to the examiner, you will score above band 7. Otherwise, you will get restricted to 6 or below. So that is a very important criteria for you of fluency and coherence. Grammatical range and accuracy. Where grammatical range comes in is if, for instance, you're not using the correct tense and you're using the incorrect tense. For instance, if the question is asking you, describe a vacation that you recently went on. Went on is already happened, the event. But you're using the future tense. Then you will again lose marks for grammatical range and accuracy. Pronunciation, as some of you have already pointed out, that students are struggling with pronunciation, intonation, not using the right language for it, then they will lose marks in pronunciation. So these are the 4 criteria in which you're judged in IELTS speaking. Any task that you're given, especially in speaking task 2, you'll be judged according to these criteria only. Then you'll go in more detail. So this is very important for you to remember. You should also convey it to your students so they can focus more on these sections rather than focusing just on more and more words. Just learning more vocabulary is not going to score you more mark, but speaking in correct fashion using all 4 band descriptors will help them score more marks. Now, let us understand about fluency versus the myth of speed. Here is a challenge for you also. What do you personally think? Do you think speaking faster is better? That will help you get an IELTS score? Or what exactly is this? Will it help you get a higher score just by speaking fast? What is your opinion? Inia wants, yes, Inia, you can chat. You can post it in the chat box. Fluency with correct grammar and vocabulary, says Sethi. And okay, and Sarojini, you all can type in the chat box what you believe. Before I move to the next screen, you can definitely, speaking clearly, okay, fluency is what matters. So you believe that it's not the speed, but it is fluency. Many of you are saying that. Speaking slow but accurate is important. All right. So being the educator, you have pointed it out correctly that you don't require to speak very fast, but you need to speak clearly. Exactly. You need to speak clearly. You need to be fluent with it, but you don't have to rush your sentences. There is a myth that, you know, if you're going to speak very fast, if you're going to convey your sentences together, then you might score more marks. However, it doesn't function like that. It doesn't mean that you need to speak slowly or slow down your ideas. No, never do that. Never slow it down. What you have to do is you have to convey your ideas at the correct pace. So speak in your natural manner, speak in your natural rhythm, but do not slow it down. However, if you're trying to speak extremely fast, where you're eating sentence after sentence, then that would look wrong. Examiners are always impressed by how you speak. How confidently are you able to convey your points? If you are connecting your ideas or not. Not just connection, but if you're providing some supporting sentences with it. Natural pauses, some slow confidence, it always helps. So this is very important. If someone is speaking very fast in your class, what do you do? What tips do you tell them? As educators, does it happen that someone is speaking very fast, or is it the opposite, where they are really struggling to speak fluently? What do you come across? Which is the issue that you face more in your class? Struggling to speak, okay. So Rupa has said that it is mostly struggling to speak rather than speaking fast. So it is the opposite, where they are struggling to speak. And more often, what do you say? Jolly or anyone, can you mention? What do you mention at that point of time when they are really struggling? At such an instance, do you provide them some tips? What do you tell them to listen? Do you tell them to mimic something, say some sentences? What exactly do you tell them, especially if they are really struggling? Help them with question okay, so Madhu has said that they are helping them with question prompts. I believe it is the part 1 question prompts and part 2 question prompts, so that they become more comfortable. And what else do you provide them? Is it slow and steady? Of course, slow and steady will win. Slow down, we aren't going anywhere. Right. Oja has a nice philosophical take also on this matter. And so it is not exactly the speed that has been your problem recently. The issue is that whenever they are speaking slowly, how exactly can you fill up that gap? So one area, what you can do is you can use the vocabulary. A lot of vocabulary resources will help them. Once they start learning from A1 to B1, if they start going in this direction, they will improve in their vocabulary and they won't struggle so much. That is one. Second, if they are sitting in a group class, make them interact with each other, make them interact and discuss ideas. Anything that is probably happening recently that you have seen, some event that they will be aware of, that they can make simple sentences to begin with. After they speak in simple sentences, they can move further. This could be something that you can use. So here there is an answer, a game for you, fast or fluent. We can support them by helping them farming sentences. Yes, Gauri, that's a nice way. You can also help them to farm sentences. Most of you have already said that, the problem with your students is not with fluency, it is more with struggling. So you will have to deal with them in helping them form correct sentences, helping them understand articles correctly, and also understand what is prepositions. Maybe they are also lacking over here. Do you think they really struggle with grammar also? How weak is their grammar? Can some of you type in the chat box? Do you think it's very weak or it is good for an IELTS level? It's weak, you're saying, Jolly. With tenses, okay, parts of speech. Right. So grammar is one major issue. They are really struggling with parts of speech. Lack of functional grammar, subject verb control, right? So grammar is a main issue over here. I can see that, okay, so now we are getting to pronouns. Actually, pronouns is a very important topic which doesn't get highlighted enough because people consider it to be a lighter topic. But in writing especially, and even in speaking, as referencing, you move to band 7 only because of using correct pronouns. So unless and until you use pronouns correctly, you won't move to band 7. So pronouns are very, very important to use correctly. Someone who has bad grammar, what they do is they start using the same name repeatedly again and again because they are afraid that they might not convey the idea to the person. So what is B? I didn't understand that, but I think you want to say that grammar is weak. So here's what we understood, that many of the students are lacking in grammar. They are lacking in vocabulary, and that is tenses also. Frenny has mentioned that it is tenses also, which is a big problem. In order to move to band 7, last time we were also discussing about band 7, how we can move over there. Connectives or linking words become extremely important. These are some linking words. You can use any linking word that you're more comfortable with, but I have selected here 5, which you can use freely. First is having said that, which uses contrast and balance. If you can bring it into the speaking of student, then it will show to the examiner that the student is not only just mentioning in simple sentence, but they also use the power of a linking word. That is, of showing some contrast, showing some balance while speaking. So it's important to highlight this to your student and teach them that they must use it correctly. An example sentence is also given to you. I enjoy socializing. Then, having said that, I value my quiet time. So, show contrast with a linking word. Don't just use excess linking words. They can use this. Conjunctions, yes, they can use conjunctions correctly. They use question tag. Uh, okay, they use question tag. I didn't understand they use question tag incorrectly. You mean right? What more? What's more is it's a fun hobby. What's more, it improves your memory. Then third, in terms of in terms of challenges, the hardest part is staying consistent. As far as I'm concerned, online learning is the future. To put it another way, it it's quite demanding. To put it another way, it takes real dedication. Now I want you all to use one of the linking words. Let's start with as far as I am concerned. Okay? Why don't you use as far as I am concerned and type in the chat box something, a sentence that you are more comfortable with. It can be any sentence, but make use of as far as I am concerned. Here we have, as far as I am concerned, AI is taking over the world. Very good, Pooja, that was quick. Short form. Okay, so that incorrectly they are using, right? Anyone else? Pooja has already used as far as I am concerned. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, it's not possible. Okay. That sentence, if that could have been extended a little more, it would have become more better, Asha. I'm least bothered about this. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, I may be looking at lesser. This is an incomplete sentence. I'm concerned regular reading improves. Much more comfortable now. Okay. Teamwork always gives the best. Right. So what is happening is you just have to write a bigger sentence here. What that will do is improve your speaking as well. That is something that you can teach to your students as well. Some of the sentences are a little short. Just use linking words to increase it, increase that sentence. That is where it comes in very handy. As far as I'm concerned, regularly helps. Plan is perfect. Students should respect their. Okay. Tiwari mentioned a good statement here. Khushbu, as far as I'm concerned about the teenagers, as they are so much. Okay, that's interesting. So, quite a good mix of sentences. English. As far as I'm concerned, AI will never replace teachers. Okay, that's very interesting. We had Pooja who used, as far as I'm concerned, saying that AI will replace everyone. And we had Smita that teachers will never be replaced. Very good usage of as far as I'm concerned by both of them. Good. So it's completely up to you how you want to use it, you know. But if you try to bring in this, bringing linking words, then your speech will actually be transformed. Otherwise, your speech will just look a little limited. In IELTS, that's why you're getting more marks. People who jump from 5, 6, and 7. 7 is the parameter that everyone is looking for. If the student wants to really jump to 7, this is something that you must really highlight. For example, just have a look at a sentence without connectives or without linking words. Nice sentence, Anu. Good. Has the ability to shine. Use it in more and more different areas where you're not even comfortable in. So then you will become more free in speaking. Now, this is a classic use of simple sentence where many students actually use these kind of sentences, band 5, band 4, classic. I like my job. It is stressful. The pay is good. I sometimes work late. I enjoy the team. Good. It is conveying the message, but not really enjoyable sentences. With connectives, I genuinely enjoy my job. Having said that shows some connectivity. It connects the previous sentence and the next sentence. It can be stressful at times. What's more, late hours can take a toll. Though in terms of team spirit, it's absolutely brilliant. So now you have understood as far as I'm concerned and other things. I'll just give you one more example now. You're from different parts of India and you must be liking or disliking whatever it is, the hometown it is, where you stay. You can just write a couple of sentences in the chat box, why you feel it is special, what is the standout feature of that place. Mention that. That will help you explain it in speaking also. Mention it in writing here in the chat box, why you like your place, let's say your hometown, wherever you're staying, why you like it so much. Try to use some linking words. Having said that, as far as I am concerned, try to use that while you're explaining. For example, I like my place because, but having said that, it doesn't have these facilities. Try to expand the sentence like that. Let's see who goes first and who will it. Okay, I love my place because around me are very enthusiastic people. Will sound an irrepressible charm. Okay, Nightingale has come up with a good answer. I like that answer, charm. And anyone else? Any other person who wants to share? If you dislike that place also, you can mention it. There is no harm in disliking that place. I like my place because of its natural beauty. Now, this is where I want it to be more extended, okay? We are moving towards the cue card. Before I come to the cue card, I want you to mentally frame yourself to extend your answers a little more, okay? So the answers need to be a little more extended, that if you like that place for its natural beauty, right? Now, I'm not aware of which natural beauty are you talking about. You can just mention it, that I like that place for its natural beauty. Maybe you're talking about the mountains or something else. The profound sense of belonging coupled with, okay, that's a very interesting answer which she has given. Priya, Anu, Samuel, all have given some good answers. So here we have more options for you. I like traveling. Having said that, it can be very tiring and expensive. So try to mix up your sentences, try to mix up ideas. Don't go in the same manner. IELTS speaking always likes a mix of ideas. If you just say that, I like everything, I'm perfectly fine with this food, then it just gets a little boring. So try to mix up ideas. Here it says, I like traveling, but having said that, it can be tiring and expensive, which is just a fact. This is not a made up statement. This is a fact which you are expressing. So something that you can think about, what you will do, you can teach to your students also. The city is vibrant and exciting, then you can use another linking word. Okay, here, for simple reason, it gives me a sense of belonging, I believe. India, because of its culture. Nice, that's very true, Stephen. The culture is very strong in India. very strong culture and people like to follow it. So that's a wonderful reason that you have given. Always express that, why it is and what you do particularly. So that becomes even more your personal statement. So learning language is hard work, right? Learning language can be hard work, as we understood in part one also. Why? When you're expressing that, then you also use a linking word. To put it simply, or to put it in my way, it demands real connectivity. My hometown is distinguished by its hospitable people. Excellent. So here she's using a lot of linkers, which I like. Whenever, just be careful of one thing. Use linkers freely, but never use too many linkers in just a speaking sentence of 2 minutes, which we'll be coming to. Idiomatic vocabulary. So what are idiomatic vocabulary? What are you aware of when you hear the term of idiomatic? Whoever is aware of it, they can write in the chat box, they can tell me. Yes, Samuel, that's true. So, any idea about idiomatic vocabulary? Okay. So, idioms, have you heard that phrase, an apple a day keeps the doctor away? Yes, yes, literal meaning of the words. Exactly. Break the ice. Nice. Samuel, Patra, under the weather. Exactly. Now, to use idioms for expression, precisely, it doesn't, uh, correct, Patidar. It is muhavra in Hindi, a roof over my head. So, all these things, these are basically called as idioms in English, what they said. And breaking the ice is actually a very famous idiom. Now, we want to use that many times. You will be using these in your expressions while you're speaking also. In writing, it generally comes naturally because you have time to think about it. You can think, you can reflect, and you can also, scratch out some of the ideas. But while speaking, how can you get these idioms? Like if you're speaking with someone, you don't actually speak in this manner using idioms. Maybe someone from UK or US, they naturally use a lot of idioms, right? We are not used to using so many idioms, especially a person who is struggling with English. So you have to make sure that you teach them good amount of idioms that they use. Let me ask you, do your student use idioms? Are they comfortable with it? You've already told me that they are struggling, but just want to understand, are they using idioms? No, very rare, not really. Okay. Hardly. Okay. Not at all. Fingers crossed. Yes, Sayani, that is also. Few, few are using. You mean rarely. Sri Devi has said that it is very rare to see students of their class using idioms. So, but that has to break. That has to break, and we have to change that. Okay, because idioms are a sure short way of moving to a higher band. There are certain rules that idioms have to be used correctly. Any expression that you're using, if used incorrectly, then you will lose marks. That is a given. So you have to just think, first understand this. Maybe you can go through them and explain it to the student how they can use it. Explain it like how you're encouraging them to use their introductions in the beginning of the class. Have this as a fun exercise, as a game. They'll become more comfortable. The first one is a very good idiom to use. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. So we had one person who said they're interested to use idioms. That's very good. So one person has actually come up and said that they are interested to use. So you can introduce them to this one, that it's a double-edged sword. But how can they use double-edged sword? Now we were discussing the topic of, as far as I am concerned, and two people actually used the same topic of AI, right? So imagine that your students will get the topic of AI in examination. And if they happen to say that, AI is very beneficial as it is doing a lot of our work very quickly, so on and so forth. But when you're providing the flip side, the alternative side of it, which has a lot of negatives, it does have a lot of negatives as well, then you will definitely say it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because it's taking away all the jobs, it is impacting how the society functions, people are not talking with each other so much. Just provide a second option as well. So you're using, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Then you can say all things considered, that is summarizing. On the whole, that is also a shorter phrase of idiom. You can also use all the idioms that you also said that break the ice. Do you want to put it in the chat box? Let's say you're using an idiom of break the ice. How will you use that? If you had to use break the ice in an expression while speaking, how will you use that? Before I move, I just want to see, if you had to use break the ice or any idiom, what would you say while you're speaking? At the beginning of the class discussion, the teacher asked conversation, a new joiner was given a chance. Excellent. Very good. So Srinivas said it nicely. A new joiner was given the chance to break the ice. I had to break the ice when I entered the class. Good. So just mentioning break the ice won't do. The host break the ice. That is incorrect. The host break the ice is incorrect. I was nervous at first, but my friends broke the ice. Okay. Um, break a leg. Yeah. So just try to practice it a couple of times and see if it is coming naturally or not. The more you practice, the more you'll become comfortable with it. Let me break the ice by introducing, yes, Sarmishta Bhatt. That is a good way. And I see that you have introduced yourself. I introduced myself first to break the ice. Okay, I see. Yes, that's true. Every dog does have his day. Smiling and saying hello can break. I like that. I like how you're now rephrasing it around break the ice. Before it was just break the ice, but it is now rephrasing to use it. Basically, the idea is that you are not going to just use it, not going to just use an idiom because you know 5 idioms. Okay, you must not use like a dictionary or like a computer that you have learned 5 idioms before going to the examination, because that will result in loss of marks. Trust me on this, using too many idioms will yield in loss of marks. Use 1 or 2 idioms, maybe even one is fine, but use it naturally so that your conversation looks extremely natural when you are speaking with the other person, in this case, the person who will be recording your interview. So, too many idioms, no, avoid it. But having 1 idiom, 2 idioms are the best way, because that's how humans will talk with each other. That's the perfect way. To break the ice at the party. Yes, exactly. I started talking about cricket. That's a very good example, which I missed the name, but that was a very good example. What this person actually said was, so she break the ice and etc. They use the idiom, but he also said that example of cricket was used. Good. So we have 2 options here, answer A or answer B. What are the advantages and disadvantages of social media? You can read it and then you can type in the chat box which answer feels more natural. I'll give you some time. Just type it quickly, which answer feels more natural. Excellent, excellent. So all of you feel it is B. I think one person also felt A. One person also felt A. So many have understood the logic that, idioms have to be used correctly, naturally. That is how you must be using. Use two idioms. Use it in a natural manner. Use it in a manner that will be understood by others and yourself. So to that person also, you spotted it, but B was the correct answer. Parrots don't pass the rule. Whenever you're answering the question in IELTS, you can use this framework. This framework is called PEAL framework. PEEL. Try to, if you want, you can take us, you can note it down. It is called PEAL framework, and you can use it to answer any question. The idea behind this is first is point, explain, example, and link. So let us try to think about this with an IELTS question. First is to point. What exactly is your own idea? Your main idea should be stated extremely clearly. If you are against a particular topic, be clear on it. Don't hesitate or hold back on anything. So that is point. What point you wish to make. If you had a great vacation last year, say it, make that point clearly. Then give a reason or elaboration. Now you're saying that you had a great vacation. How how is it that you had a great vacation when you're not even mentioning what happened over there, where did you go, with whom you went? So explain to us why exactly you say it's a great vacation. Third, give an example. The example could be that you went to a water park or you had the best cuisine from that place, local cuisine. Then link, connect it back to the question. So this is how you will be using the PEAL framework. The language to use in all these sections are, for point, you will say, in my opinion, since it is your own point. In explanation, you must say the reason is. In example, you must say, for instance, in my own life. For link, you will say, all things considered. That's how you frame the PEAL framework for any IELTS question, especially for Q card question. That is the 2-minute question. Personally, I tend to prefer working independently. That is the point. Do you prefer working alone or in a team? When that's the question, you start off with this. Explain. Mainly because I find that I am more productive when I can focus without interruptions. Example is, for instance, when I was working on a project at university, I accomplished much more on my own than in group sessions. Finally, the link. Having said that, I do recognize the value of teamwork for creative brainstorming. All things considered, though, solo work suits my style best. So this is PEAL, and you can use it for all cue cards which come to you for IELTS. Now you can use the same PEAL framework for any of the cue card that is in front of you. It depends on you which one you want to use, whether it is question second, third, fifth, or sixth, and you can answer this in the chat box. Any question you can answer. From first to sixth, you can answer anything. Try to use the same thing. Use the PEAL framework and answer these questions. For example, is social media good for young people? Now you can answer on that. You can give an example. What is your point on that? I prefer city life. Okay, very good. She has mentioned her point and her example. What about others? Which task, which question do you want to take? Is it important to have hobbies? Do you think people read enough these days? The skill I would most like to learn is public speaking. Anu has said that. I prefer city life because we get more opportunities. That's what Khushbu has said. That is true. Yes, I would like to prefer city life. Most of you have mentioned that and taken that question. Okay. Now for the cue card, there are two things that you must do. First is try to take the 1 minute of time. In cue card, first a cue card is given to you, but you will also be provided with 1 minute of time. This 1 minute of time is extremely important to utilize. Don't give the cue card away. You will also be provided with the paper which you can use. You can take notes, you can brainstorm during this time, and you can utilize a strategy by asking yourself what you will speak when the speaking time will begin. So the four questions that you can ask yourself are what that is being asked of you, when and where. Add context. Try to create more context, time, place. Was it about 2 years ago, 6 months ago? When did the event actually take place? About a memorable trip. Why? Why is it really special? Because maybe it was a birthday or a special event that you went with your family members. Try to give some reason for it. So you must provide more and more reason. That's the only way you will be able to score marks. Finally, reflect. Looking back at that trip, was it a great trip or did you not enjoy it so much? Or was it one thing like maybe you did not enjoy the food of this place, which you want to correct in your next one? So we have people who are mentioning about hobbies and other things. Always provide this cue card strategy to your students. Tell them to brainstorm for 1 minute and then use the cue card strategy of what, when, why, and also reflect. These are the 4 points which they must use. That is something that they must use. Only when they use this strategy, they will be in a better position to score more marks. So this is how the 1 minute of time should be used. There are multiple questions, but generally in cue card, you will see a lot of questions related with personal life. That is where you went and what you did. So these are the questions that you can expect. So don't be overawed by this. And also don't think that if I answer, what will the examiner judge of me? Examiner won't judge your experience. Examiner is only there to judge your English. Remember this and also convey this point to your students, because some of them think that giving a wrong answer over here, that this experience might be considered incorrect. So also tell this to your students as well. Try to teach them timing. Since it's a 2-minute task, teach them how to time it. For example, they have initial 20 seconds where they must introduce the topic. They must introduce the topic if they like something or not. This is where they must combine that 20 seconds of time. Then from 20 to 50 seconds of time, they must develop subtask 2 and 3. They must address that. Whether they like a particular thing or not, what happened in the last vacation, why did they spend more time with the family members, who that family member was. Here they must cover subtask 2 and 3. Then between 50 seconds to 1.5 minutes, they must provide details and examples. Just stating one thing without examples will result in the person staying in band 5 itself. Then the next will be reflection, what lessons you learn. Then finally, you must conclude. Use words like finally, I would like to wrap up, and I would like to go back again. Use those words in conclusion. That's how you time your 2 minute correctly. Always use that perfectly so that 2 minutes is timed well. In fact, if you go above 2 minutes of time, they will stop you themselves. So you can also use that trick wisely. So this is how you try to master the cue card section. I'm sure you all have a lot of questions about the cue card also. You might want to try it out. So why don't you try something? Here there is a cue card for you. Describe a time you felt very proud of yourself. You must say what you did, when it happened, who was involved, and why you felt proud. You can use the strategy which we discussed. It could be any time when you felt proud of yourself. Since most of your teachers, was it your first teaching job? What exactly it was? You can tell or write it in the chat box and then let us see. Just go through it quickly so that we'll have a look at it, all the answers. We don't have the speaker, but whoever gives the best answer in the chat box will be considered as the Band 7 speaker of the day. Your first day at school. Okay, Khushbu says her first day at school, so I believe that she felt very proud. Excellent, Khushbu. She did not mention what you did or when it happened, but she only mentioned describe a time when you felt very proud. Excellent. Okay, Aarti, of course, Aarti, that's a very proud moment for all of us here, which happened during my, I'm sorry, that got cut off on my screen. So many people have experiences, you know, the more you share, you felt very proud. It was a wonderful day for me. Right, right. Khushbu is mentioning why she felt very proud. I really like that. Good. June 2013 as a teacher. Excellent. See, what I'm seeing here is you're sharing a part of your memory, a part of your experience. I really like that because only when you share those experiences, your speaking part two really enriches. And whoever is the listener, in this case, when I'm hearing these stories, I really like and I really find it more enjoyable. So wonderful. And thank you all for sharing those. So the date, okay, many of you are sharing it, and I can see that, okay, it was someone had a different take when they saved a big cat. That was the most different. I found it very unique. Everyone, when they became teacher, that was very proud of themselves. One person actually said they saved a cat and they felt very proud of themselves. So excellent. These are very interesting answers. Of course, Aarti also mentions that it's proud to be a teacher. Excellent journey. One by one week students, they are helping. Very good. Now I'll open the floor to you all. Any questions you have, please write it in the chat box. Pooja became team leader. That was a proud moment for her. Excellent, Pooja. Congratulations. Anyone who wants to mention or post something, please drop a question quickly. I taught myself. That's a very interesting experience, Asha, that you taught your 72-year-old grandfather. Excellent. I feel proud when my students fare well in board exams. That's a wonderful story. We all feel very proud when the students are doing well. Any questions you feel with related to IELTS speaking, you can post it here. Can this activity be taken for all age groups? Yes, you can take it. It's especially useful when they are preparing for IELTS speaking part 2. I taught my mother. Now she's using networking and social. That's very good, Rashmi. You're most welcome, Gauri. So anyone who has questions, they can post, or else the link, the feedback link will be shared with you. Any other questions that you might be having about? So some of the questions initially, I'm very happy. You're welcome. Yeah. How can I improve my vocabulary? So what you can do over there is whenever you're facing difficulty with vocabulary, I believe you want to ask regarding students only. So for students, provide them some lists. Provide them list, tell them to learn words, improve it, Tell them to learn few words rather than entire words together and make use of it, whether they are writing or in speaking. So if they are able to use it, then see if they are using it correctly. Like we discussed, if someone is not using idioms correctly or words correctly, then there is no point in learning a new word. So that can be very important. And that's a very nice story. Suzanne Lee, when you passed your 12, that I feel is very nice. Peel framework for general topic discussion like AI. So what you must do is, first you must select the topic, the entire topic, AI. Then you must state your point. For example, if you support AI or not, that will be your point. I'm talking about in terms of speaking. That's you're most welcome, Khushbu. Then, if you're going to provide an example, what is the example that you will provide? Positive, mention that maybe some of your tasks are being completed quickly. Mention that. Then, once you provide that, also provide more reasons what is happening. Then finally connect it with the question. Okay, some of you mentioned stutter while speaking. How can I help there? So if someone is really struggling with a stutter, what you must do is you must mention during the IELTS examination itself. Mention it clearly that they have some problem with stuttering, so that any issue that the IELTS examiner wants to check, they might really be more lenient. So that is one thing. But if they have no issue at all, no issue as such, which is medical, it would depend on the examiner going forward. However, if the student just hesitates in giving the answer, then you will have to think, how can I overcome? Figure out which letters are they really struggling. For example, are they struggling on R? Are they struggling on major sentences? Work with those sentences first. Clear them out, then move to major words which are connecting.